Coming up.
From what Australians have seen thus far, you are right up Donald Trump's ass.
Think you know Peter Dutton?
I suppose they're more trustworthy than politicians.
Think again.
You can't be double-crossed.
Carl Stefanovic down on the farm.
Can't sing, can't dance, can't play ukulele.
With the opposition leader and his family.
Would any of you go into politics?
No.
Not a solid chance.
What is the real Peter Dutton like?
That's next on 60 Minutes.
Unfriendly, unlikable, unelectable. For those who oppose Opposition Leader Peter Dutton, he's easy to characterise. If you believe recent polls, though, being unpopular can't be all that bad. What was once thought impossible has now happened. Dutton has taken over from Anthony Albanese as preferred PM. With an election looming, that's a very good position to be in. But for someone who's all too regularly making headlines, Peter Dutton is still a mystery to many. So tonight we get the lowdown on the man aspiring to our highest office from those who know him best, his family.
Fresh air, Pete.
Draw it in, draw it in.
So different. You couldn't get further away from Canberra.
Well, that's the idea. I think it's good for the soul.
At the crack of dawn, I'm on a mission to get to know the real Peter Dutton.
It's very peaceful, mate.
We're taking in the sights of his family property north of Brisbane.
You can't trust cattle.
Yeah,
I mean, just the way they look at you.
Yeah, no. Look, and she's got your eye too.
I suppose they're more trustworthy than politicians.
Well, you can't be double-crossed. What do they say? You got to get a dog.
Someone who does have a dog is his wife of 21 years, the vivacious Kiralee Dutton. This is Peter Dutton with hair.
This is.
Sorry about that. Here's your chance. What is the real Peter Dutton like?
Very relaxed. Very gentle and empathetic. He's a great mate, he's a good son, and he's an excellent dad.
Does he play the ukulele?
No, thank God. We're not doing that, are we? Can't sing, can't dance, can't play ukulele.
That's the truth.
Tonight, the Duttons go deep in their first television interview together.
Peter, Kiralee, interview take one.
And it couldn't be clearer. This is a family who wants to win.
I really hope you can see him as another person if he does become Prime Minister.
I think for his campaign, he can't appear as a teddy bear because that won't do him much good. But I'd like everyone to know that he really is.
Are you both ready to be Australia's first couple?
I am.
Peter Dutton grew up in outer Brisbane, the son of a bricklayer and eldest of 5 kids.
This must take you back, Pete.
Oh, smell it.
How are you,
Great.
mate?
Okay, good, Jack. How are you, mate?
He kept busy as a teen mowing lawns, delivering newspapers, and working at the local butcher.
For me, as like a pretty shy kid, actually, it sort of brought out the ability to speak to people across the counter, and it was a sort of a fun environment to work in.
But it was joining the Queensland Police Force that really shaped Peter Dutton. For 9 years, he was exposed to some of the worst crimes imaginable on the drug and sex offenders squads.
I think you're only human, and therefore you carry with you those memories and those conversations, those sort of horrible facts and scenes. And
Are they in your mind now when you're thinking about it?
yeah, I can think about some of those victims, particularly women and children. And I do think it influences the way that you bring up your own children, the way that you assess a scene when you go into a restaurant or into public. And I mean, there's also an amazing side to that career where you have a great deal of satisfaction by providing support, helping somebody in their darkest hour, and there is a job satisfaction that goes with that.
Eventually, politics came calling, and Peter Dutton successfully ran for the seat of Dixon in 2001.
Well, Minister, lovely to see you. Thanks very much for coming. Thank you.
It was around that time he was set up on a date with Kiralee at the Port Office Hotel in Brisbane. Take me back to
the early days when you first locked eyes on this magnificent man? Do you remember? Was it
With a vodka Red Bull in hand coming towards me.
vodka Red Bull?
Yeah. It was a few years ago. To blast from the past.
Yeah, and your heart skipped a beat, or did yours because of the vodka
Well,
Red
it was
Bull?
pumping hard, but I'd had 20 vodka Red Bulls by that stage, so it was all good.
What attracted you to Kirralie?
I think Kirralie, obviously, looks to start with. I should put that flag in the
That is
sand straight
that
away.
is so
Did you
cheap.
like that? Was from the heart.
That was cheap.
Did you like that? So completely composed and nothing rattles her and is just stoic and supportive and that's always been a bedrock and that's never changed from day one.
Thank you very much to those people that have pledged their support.
When they met, he had already been married and divorced and was expecting a child, his daughter Rebecca, with another former partner.
I was reading, back in the day, when you were a young fella, just making your way in the world, and you were quite the man about town.
You're making things up. You're making things up.
No, I don't know. Just tell me about, there's some family life there that it's not the cookie cutter politician.
No, I mean, we didn't meet as, school sweethearts or anything like that. I got married young when I was about 23 and that marriage lasted about 6 months. And
You had Rebecca as well.
yeah, so Beck was born in 2002. Rebecca's mother and I had been sort of on and off in a relationship would be the polite way to describe it. But she's been an amazing mother and I like to think that I've been an amazing father to Rebecca as well and the way that Beck's turned out.
You would know that the Prime Minister...
The couple's sons, Harry and Tom, came along a few years later.
It's nice to watch, actually, that they're so close together.
You take on the role of stepmom as well.
Yeah, and I don't really like that word because,
You didn't even think about it. It's like, this is...
yeah, it was just done. And from the day that she was born, she was part of our family. She's our child, she's the boy's sister. I don't think of our relationship in those terms.
Spurred on by his young family, Dutton rose quickly through the ranks of the Liberal Party. Gaining an unforgiving reputation for his hardline approach to the defence, immigration and home affairs portfolios.
We just need to call it for what it is. Of course it's African gang violence. At the moment, we've got people who are being subject to home invasions, they're having their cars stolen.
It's a reputation, Kirralie says, is undeserved.
Why is he misunderstood?
I don't know that he's misunderstood or that it's just you can't meet everybody every day. The jobs that he has done in government have been really tough jobs and he's done them really, really well. But that gives you a particular persona. What do? Go on a game show or what's the show? Dancing with the Stars.
It's not on this network. So.
Exactly.
Probably not.
Okay.
What? Maybe...
Married at First Sight? No, that's not going to work.
No, Peter Dutton on Married at First Sight. That's exactly what he needs.
What's that? It's pro-anorexia.
But the Duttons have also experienced a sinister side of the political game firsthand.
You were quoted as saying in an article a few years ago, he's not a monster. That takes it to a whole new level for you. Why did you feel you needed to say that?
What people were doing and saying was impacting our life in a way that it never had before.
The family childcare businesses Kirralie managed became a target for nasty, relentless online abuse.
When people are writing things online and saying things and posting images about him that are physically hurtful, very, very graphic, that are being sent to my staff. So it's gone beyond Peter and I, beyond our family, to beautiful young women who work for me. That was the turning point. And when my children are having to have security details at school and at sporting games because of threats that have been made.
When you say that's a turning point, you say it with conviction.
Yeah.
And the worst part, the absolute worst part of this job is that your family, your wife, your children, your friends, your cousins with the same surname are all sucked into that vortex that you've created, and they haven't sought it. But yeah, that's the reality of it.
Coming up, from the cost of living crisis to war in the Middle East. How would Peter Dutton stand up for Australia?
From what Australians have seen thus far, they'd be forgiven for thinking that you are right up Donald Trump's arse.
After 2 decades walking the halls of power, the top job is within reach for Peter Dutton.
You've been here a long time.
24 years this year, so, well, some years it feels like it's gone quicker than others.
You've shifted to both sides a couple of times as well.
Yeah, that's true.
What's that transition like?
It's like moving from good side of town to the bad side, to the dark space. But there's good real estate and bad real estate in this building.
But with a cash-strapped, stressed-out electorate, Dutton will have to earn the keys to the lodge.
Can you name me one thing that'll be cheaper under a coalition government?
Well, if we can get the energy situation right and rectified, we should be having downward pressure on electricity bills, on gas bills.
That's years away though, right?
Well, it's not necessarily in relation to gas, which is the short-term solution.
So when will the coalition stop the rebates?
Well, Carl, we'll look at what the government's proposing.
You're prepared, though, to keep rebates going for as long as you need to?
We're prepared to do what is in the best interest of our country. And if the rebates are inflationary and they're keeping mortgage rates higher for longer, then that's not a policy that we'll adopt.
We don't know how much nuclear is going to cost. We don't know when it's going to be finalised. We don't know, when it's going to be online. Is it just a pipe dream?
Well, as I say, I mean, the United Kingdom has ramped up their investment. There's a bipartisan position. In the United States, both Democrats and Republicans strongly support nuclear power, and similarly in France and in other parts of Europe. So we need to look at the international experience.
Dutton is looking abroad for other policy inspiration too, promising an Elon Musk-style sweep through the Canberra swamp.
Well, the government's just announced in an earlier budget that they're going to employ 36,000 more public servants in Canberra. That will bring the total number to 209,000. We don't need 36,000 more public servants in Canberra.
So how far do you wind it back then in your cuts to the public service?
Well, I look at where it was in the Rudd-Gillard years. The number was around about 172,000. When we were in government, the number went up over COVID to deliver those extra services, but came back down. And this is a ramp up probably 3 times the pace at which the Rudd and Gillard numbers grew in the public service.
That's a significant blow to the public service then, you're winding it up.
I want to improve the frontline services, but I'm not supportive of the big bloating of the bureaucracy at the back end.
Who needs Elon Musk when you've got Peter Dutton?
Well, Karl Stefanovic might be available as a spot there.
Why, what have you heard?
Bit of evil genius, he could come in and identify the savings.
I will end every single international crisis that the current administration has created.
Being able to deal with the unpredictable, unbelievable 47th President of the United States could make or break any PM.
Are you Trump light?
I don't believe I am. I grew up under John Howard's wing. I've worked closely with Peter Costello as Assistant Treasurer, so I think that's more my role model than others around the world.
From what Australians have seen thus far, they'd be forgiven for thinking that you are right up Donald Trump's arse.
Well, that might be a Labor line, but it's just not true. I think I've demonstrated that I'm prepared to make the tough decisions and make the decisions that are in our country's best interests, and that will include on the world stage as it is here.
Where will you go up against Donald Trump then? What's the most obvious place?
Well, I think in relation to the tariffs, I think they're damaging the relationship if they stay in place. Not in our interests, they're not in the United States' interests.
Incredibly, Dutton says handling Trump will require some selective hearing, even on matters as major as the Middle East.
Do you support the relocation of Palestinians?
Well, Carl, if you look at what the President-elect said, and that was that he wanted hostages released by the day of his inauguration, or they'd be held to pay. Now, a lot of commentators dismiss that commentary to say this is just flourish and Donald Trump being Donald Trump. Actually, you know what happened? People were released from those caves, from that tunnel network, before Donald Trump was inaugurated. And I haven't seen that power before particularly before somebody's sworn in. And what he said in recent days is that he wants peace and stability on the Gaza Strip and across the Middle East. We all want that. The United Nations wants that. Any human
They don't want
being
US
wants
occupation,
that.
though.
Well, and the Americans aren't suggesting that from what the president said. I think we make a mistake.
I think he did say this, just a couple of days ago, that he's prepared to take it over.
Well, I think if you look at what the president said, I think one of the things that we need to bear in mind with President Trump is that we shouldn't be taking a literal interpretation of every word that's said.
It's hard to know the difference.
Well, but I think if you've watched him and you've listened to him and you've understood the nuance for a period of time, I think you can build a very strong relationship. And I think we have to. The president's a deal maker. He's a thinker. He brings people together. The transaction has been his life. I mean, that wasn't Bush 41 or 43 or Obama or Clinton. Never conducted themselves in this way. So it'll take time to recalibrate.
US politics is one thing, but more immediately, with a looming election, domestic politics takes precedence. And Dutton knows he's got a big job ahead of him.
It's so close now. Can you smell it?
I think we've got a hell of a journey left in front of us, and the campaign can throw up all sorts of oddities.
The office.
This is where it all happens.
And the war room.
That's it.
Here we are.
For victory,
21
the
seats.
coalition needs an historic swing to boot out a first-term government. If they don't win outright, Dutton knows they'll need some help.
So you get your 18, you've got to do a deal with 3.
Yeah.
Who are they?
If you speak to Bob Katter, if you speak to Allegra Spender, I think if you speak to Di Lee, I think if you speak with one or two of the others, I think there's at least a conversation to have.
Sit down. I'm still hearing. You sit down, Buffett.
Politicians pretend to always put policy ahead of the personal, but in reality, it rarely happens. And fairly or unfairly, Peter Dutton faces a unique problem in his push to become PM.
You're saying he looks strange? He looks odd?
I'm saying he looks a bit like Voldemort.
Back at home, his wife Kiralee knows her husband's not everyone's cup of tea.
And the things that people say about him, I don't like them, and I don't particularly want to hear them, but they don't bother me.
Mr. Potato Head, Lord Voldemort. How do you respond to that?
Well, what can you do? People are going to make up comparisons and imagery that suits their agenda, but no.
While Anthony Albanese had a mini makeover before winning the last election, shedding the kilos and donning new specs, Peter Dutton is a determined no.
Did you ever think about the elbow glow-up?
The elbow glow-up? No, I didn't. No.
Do you know what a glow-up is?
No, I don't. That's what I'm just talking about. Should I? Am I showing that I'm fairly old? Yeah, I just think if I turned up with a full head of hair tomorrow after a trip to Thailand or Turkey or somewhere, that people probably notice.
Certainly his children Rebecca, Harry and Tom would. They're always the first to keep their dad grounded.
Some funny stuff out there.
Okay, what's funny? If you say Mr. Potato Head, I'm going to lose it.
Exactly what I was going to say. That was definitely one of the negatives that we quickly turned into a positive. So,
How so?
Well, we sort of started saying it to him ourselves, so because he didn't get enough of it day to day, came home and had to deal with it as well.
What is it like having a dad who is Peter Dutton?
Good and bad. I'm very proud of what he does, but also it comes with negatives. But I've learnt to block it out and move on.
When an unflattering photograph of Tom Dutton partying at schoolies made the front page last year, the Dutton clan battened down the hatches.
I would say just on that point, I have 4 beautiful children, and I will say that they get dragged into and cop flack because of my profile.
Yeah.
How do you navigate through those times as a family?
Well, as Tom said, we've sort of grown up with it, so you get used to it. You sort of just block out the bad noise. We all do a pretty good job at banding together and not letting the bad get in. So, but I mean, there's definitely more good than bad.
Breakfast at the Dutton Ranch. Here we go.
What are you doing, Pete?
I know. I'm doing a little bit of Avo on toast.
What are you kids doing? Absolutely nothing. It's refreshing to see.
No, we're making toast.
The Duttons are genuinely a close bunch. What's going to be the hardest part of the next couple of months?
I just think it'll be on the road 7 days a week. So at least in this job, you can catch up with your family on the weekend. Being separated would kill me. And
why is that with you? Why would that kill you, not to see your family?
I just think because they're your lifeblood. It's an impossible job to do without the family support and wrap that around you. But they pay a price for that.
It's a cost the Duttons are willing to bear, but perhaps not repeat.
I really hope you can see him as another person if he does become Prime Minister.
So you greatly admire what he does. Would any of you go into politics?
No.
Not a chance.
No. We've definitely had our dose of politics.
When you grow up with it, you'll learn to stay right away from it.
You'll get the same answer every time you ask any of us.
My friends know more about than I do.
What happens if it doesn't work out? If you go through all this effort, all this commitment, you've pushed the family through thick and thin and thick again, and it doesn't quite work out. Peter Dutton loses the election.
I think you wake up on the Monday and you brush yourself off. The kids are healthy, and you get on with life. And you can't live with regrets, and you move on gracefully, whether you win or lose.
Kirrilly, you?
What do they say? Better to die on your feet than live on your knees.
It's true.
Let's do it.
Hello, I'm Amelia Adams. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minute segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.